What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by Fitty Trent. We are here to recap the game of the Chicago Blackhawks and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Blackhawks take it to the Penguins 5-1, depressingly. And we're here to recap the game, give you the results, the action, just tell you how the game was and what our thoughts are of both teams. Now, this was kind of an interesting game going in because both these teams are amongst the favorites to go to the Stanley Cup in both conferences. So, in a way, it could have been a Stanley Cup preview. But in a way, also, it couldn't have been a Stanley Cup preview because, as we know, and as many of you do know, the Penguins have a lot of injuries, and that definitely showed up in this game quickly and often. And the Chicago Blackhawks dominated the first period 4-0. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I tuned out after the first period. I went nap time, all right? You know, I said I clicked it, bye-bye Trent. And I just fell out of the chat because me and Trent were watching it together in a chat like this. And I was watching the live stream because it wasn't on TV. And it was 4-0 in the first period. I was busy editing videos, watching the Spurs and Warriors, which is at halftime right now. And I got to go back and watch that and do a recap with Dylan. So stick around for that as well. So I was a little busy. So I'm like, Penguins are getting killed. What's the point? 4-0. Bye. Okay, so anyways, the game though. And I'm going to be doing a lot of ranting because as a Penguins fan, I know what our capability is as a team. And it's up here. It's the best in the league with full strength, playing our best. And I just hate when our Penguins teams, Trent, I don't know, if you know how this feels because, I don't know how close the Canucks have been. They've been very good, but when they're good, they're not injured. You know what I mean, bro? So
I know exactly what you mean.
The Penguins have been good for 11 years, all right? They have the longest playoff streak. 11 years in a row they've been in the playoffs. And most of those years, the Penguin seasons have been ended because nobody can stay healthy. And I just really am praying and hoping that the Penguin season in 2017 isn't ended because this team is just as good as last year's team, at least on paper. And they have all the makings of being a Stanley Cup champion if they can stay healthy and if they can be on the ice. But that is not what we saw today. We saw half an AHL team, and we saw a goalie that couldn't save the puck. So, Trent, I want to know what you feel because that's basically what I got from the game. The Blackhawks were the prepared team. They're the team that has the chemistry. They're the team that has their real players in action with their real line mates. And they dominated from the start to basically the finish. Is that what you got, Trent?
I mean, Mitch, I just have to give you a round of applause at first. I mean, what a great way to start off. Just a huge rant like that. It's about time. We haven't done a game review in so long. And it's about time that we get a good Mitch rant. I haven't heard one of those in a long time. So thank you for that, Mitch. I very much enjoyed it. I'm going to give you another round of applause. Super enjoyable. And 100% correct. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins, as you said, were absolutely outplayed by the second that the puck dropped on the first faceoff. Every single time it looked like, the rush was just going to keep on going into Chicago's end. Anytime that they got out of Chicago's end, it was usually just a dump and chase, and that's all that it became of anything. I mean, it was incredible watching this game from both kind of standpoints where, I don't love either of these teams, not like you who loves the Pittsburgh Penguins, but, I mean, it was interesting to see how they operated. And yes, the big main problem is with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now is that they're injured. And I think you might have another injured player on your roster right now, and that's Marc-Andre Fleury, because let me tell you, he could not stop a beach ball. It looked like
Are you serious? He's actually hurt, or is that just he sucks?
No, he just sucks. You need to test him. You need to test him to make sure that he's okay, because he could not stop a beach ball. He could not stop a truck going straight for his net. I mean, I'm sorry, it looked like a good Dan Cloutier game out there, Mitch. That's how terrible it looked. So you need to get him checked. He was the big reason why you lost this game. I mean, if you maybe had Matt Murray in the net, maybe things would have been different. I know apparently a lot of fans think that Matt Murray's been playing really bad so far, in the past few games. But personally, you're going to have a few off games here and there. If a goalie lets in 4 goals in the first period, you don't restart with him in the second period, giving him a new slate. If it's still 5-0 in the game, you pull him out. You take him out of the game before you demand a trade to the Colorado Avalanche like a good old Patrick Waugh. You don't want that. You don't want that. And with Marc-Andre Fleury already on the verge of being traded, you don't want him demanding a trade because then you have to push your hand.
That's not him, though. He won't do that.
I mean, he probably wouldn't, but I mean, you can't give him any chance. I mean, this was just an embarrassing game for the poor man. Take him out. Do him some common courtesy. Just take him out of the game there, Mitch.
He did not play well. But do you want to know why he didn't play well?
Why?
Well, first of all, he couldn't save the puck. But let's look at the injuries, all right? Okay, so I was looking at my phone, all right? I have a tweet right here. The nice man, Mark Lazarus. He is a Penguins beat reporter, all right? Injuries. Trevor Daley has been out 16 games this season with a knee injury. Jake Gensel has had a concussion for 3 games. Carl Hagelin has been out with a lower body injury for 9 games. Ron Hainsey has been out with an upper body injury for 6 games. Chris Letang has been out for 16 games with an upper body injury. Oli Mata has had a hand injury for 19 games. Evgeny Malkin has been out for 6 games with an upper body injury. Ruedel has been out for 1 game. Tom Sestito has been out for 4, and that is just the current players that are injured. That doesn't include some players that miss games like Crosby and so on, and Sheary and those guys. The total amount of regular season man games lost is 243 games.
So doing math quickly in my head there, Mitch, that's like what, 3.5 seasons, give or take?
Yeah, that's pretty close, bro.
That's very saddening to think about. But I mean, as a Canuck fan, I know how it feels. The Canucks have over 11 injuries right now.
They do, but I think there's the thing is here, Trent. The thing is here, there's a few things here. First off, the Penguins are a legitimate hockey team. They actually play the sport of hockey. The Canucks don't, okay? Second, the Canucks aren't really trying to win, so you can't really get mad at that. And third, how are the Penguins still in third in the Metro Division, still in the top 4 for points in the NHL? And they've missed 3.5 seasons worth of player games.
That's a very good question to talk about there, Mitch. And honestly, it just goes down into depth. I mean, you're such a deep, deep team. I mean, even with all these injuries, it seems like you guys have enough players in the AHL. Kind of like a Chicago Blackhawks. You beat them down, they have players always to refill up their roster with. So it's interesting looking at both these teams because they're both one of the most elite teams in the entire league. I'd say that they're both the number 1 teams in their respected conferences. So it's the kind of thing that they're both deep, and that's the reason why they're doing so well. Also, the Rangers, I mean, they're right behind you guys, but the Rangers, they're kind of getting into that Ranger slump like they always like to get to at some point during the season. They may do really well, and they may be looking like they're a President's Trophy team, but the next thing you know, they're losing the next 20 games in a row. Henrik Lundqvist can't stop anything. He looks like Marc-Andre Fleury tonight. But honestly, you guys are still a good team. And I was talking to you a little bit. You're saying that Chris Letang will be back for the playoffs?
Chris Letang will be back in 10 days, Trent.
10 days? Well, the regular season ends in 12 days, I believe. So there you go. Your number 1 defenseman will be back. Evgeny Malkin's been back skating. You have nothing to worry about there, Mitch.
Are you sure? Okay, I'm going to go on another rant right here. So the Penguins last year, they were a team that was building and building momentum. And once they got to the playoffs, they were a train that couldn't be stopped. What about this year? This year, they just don't seem to be playing the right amount of good hockey. There's even in every sport, you see it in the NBA, you see it in the NFL, you see it in the NHL, you see it in March Madness, all right? Why can I not see the Penguins picking up the right amount of momentum this season and making it to the Stanley Cup? I know we've said that they should make it and they have the right players and they have the right pieces in the places, but they haven't been playing good enough hockey at this point for me to truly believe in my heart of hearts, Trent, that the Pittsburgh Penguins are still going to win the Stanley Cup. It's really, really saddening to me because I know how good this team is. Am I overreacting, Trent?
Yes, you are there, Mitch. And I'm going to ask you this question. Were you not at least a little bit concerned when the playoffs started last year? Not even just a little bit. Were you concerned at all?
I was concerned a little bit because well, we did miss I think what you're talking about is we were missing our goalies, right? You
were missing your goaltender. Trevor Daley was out. You had a bunch of other injuries. I believe that, I want to say, was it Hagelin didn't start the playoffs until like the second round?
That could be correct.
It was something like that. Like 3 of your key guys were not in the playoffs. Trevor Daley completely missed the playoffs. Marc-Andre Fleury was not healthy until the 3rd round. Until that point, you had a rookie goaltender who had never played a single game in the NHL in Matt Murray. You had Jeff Zatkoff, who can play 1 good game out of the 300 games that he's played in the NHL. Trevor Daley was out, and he was looking to be your next top 4 defenseman. Honestly, you guys look beaten. You look like you were going to be down.
Yeah, but Trent, the difference, though, we were like on a ridiculous streak.
That's true. I guess you can make that argument, but the thing is, you still have time left in the regular season to get on that ridiculous streak. It's not over whatsoever. You still have time. You still have hope. As I said, Malkin is skating. Letang is back before the playoffs will start. After that, it's just a bunch of depth guys. Depth guys will come back. And if those depth guys were on the Canucks, they would be first liners. They would be legends. So don't worry. You're such a deep team that you have nothing to worry about during these playoffs, unless the teams in your division get really, really hot. Unless Henrik Lundqvist decides to be just like a young Henrik Lundqvist and build a brick wall in the net. Unless Kevin Shattenkirk can get his head out of his ass and start playing for the Washington Capitals. Unless the Columbus Blue Jackets can complete the Cinderella story and become actually a competent NHL franchise. Besides those things happen, which are very unlikely, the Pittsburgh Penguins have nothing to worry about because they will get healthy again and they will be winning this year's Stanley Cup.
Wow, that's a statement right there. I hope you're right, bro. But after this 5-1 loss, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm worried, Trent. I know that you're confident, but I'm a Penguins fan. I'm worried. I'm always worried about my team. For the Patriots, man, when Tom Brady looked like he was done and he was no more 2 years ago when we got blown out by the Chiefs, I couldn't sleep at night, Trent.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
I was crying, Trent. I was upset. This is the same thing with the Penguins because I know how good they can be, Trent. So hopefully we get the good Penguins come playoff time. But let's talk a little bit about the Blackhawks, all right? We spend enough time on these Penguins. Fleury sucks. We know this. Okay, so the Blackhawks, they had 4 goals in the first period. Looked dominant. Looked like they should against a bunch of AHLers. What are our thoughts on the Blackhawks going into the playoffs? Players that played well, players that played poorly, combinations that we like. What stuck out about Chicago, Trent?
Well, I think the biggest thing that actually stuck out in Chicago this game was surprisingly their youth. I mean, we've seen players like, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, add a couple assists here and there throughout the game. But overall, the big stars in this game were the young players. I mean, Kero or however you say his name, 2 points in this game. He had 5 shots, a hit, 2 blocks, looked very good, and including that one block that led to the breakaway and he scored the 5th goal. That was very nice. Marcus Kruger, Richard Panik, all playing very well. Artemi Panarin. All these players are under the age of 26. And a lot of people are worried the Chicago Blackhawks, they're getting too old now. They're getting way too old. They have a couple years left in them. Relax. You have still so many good young players like this that are establishing themselves as NHLers. Never mind your prospects like Alex DeBrincat, Ville Polka. They are still coming up. They still have not proved themselves in the NHL, and they're going to prove that they are good players. I mean, you look at the defensive core, and that's probably the most scary part because their defensive core is getting a little bit older. And personally, I find that was the weaker spot in their team. And talking about like Brian Campbell and Brett Seabrook and Duncan Keith did not play their best game. They're still playing okay, but they're getting into their mid-30s and that dangerous zone of the 30s. But you still have nothing to worry about because you've always been such a deep team. But the big winner, and I know that Mitch can definitely say this, the big winner, the big number one player on your team that played in this game was Corey Crawford. I have to make the argument that Corey Crawford is the best goaltender that the Blackhawks have had in this entire 2000 decade, couple of decades, I guess.
He might be the best goalie they've ever had, period, bro.
That's a very good point there, Mitch. And it's the kind of thing where Corey Crawford, I believe he's older 20s, lower 30s. So that's right in the prime of goaltenders. So you have nothing to worry about. It's a very strong team. Honestly, I find that they're definitely going to be making at least the Western Conference Final. If any Central team gives them any really trouble, I think it would be the Wild. But they've dealt with the Wild before. They're more experienced than the Wild. And their younger players are playing better than the Wild's older players and younger
I think players. A team that might give them a little bit of trouble if they do run into them is San Jose.
They don't have to worry about facing San Jose until the Western Conference Final. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like where all bets are kind of off because everyone's riding on their high horse. But overall, you have nothing to worry about if you're a Blackhawks fan. There'll be a top 4 team this year. There'll be a top 4 team next year and many years on to come after that.
So we got a Flyers fan in here. Julian, again, he says, cough, cough, Flyers, cough, cough, missed the playoffs. And then he says Crosby's overrated. All right. Crosby's not overrated, but you know somebody that is?
Cool.
You know the somebody. I've said it numerous times. Do I got to say it again?
I think you do. I don't even really know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Overrated. Oh, is he possibly on the Chicago Blackhawks?
He is.
Well, then I think it would be the guy who everyone mistakes his name. They kind of think it looks like Toes, but it's kind of Taves, and it's somewhere
well,
around.
You know what? Jonathan Taves' leadership. How many points does Jonathan Taves' leadership have this year?
He has a good 55 or so in 65 games.
Can we just stop, Trent? Can we stop the comparisons between Taves and not even Crosby? Kane is better than Taves. Watch the hockey game.
Well,
Trent, watch the hockey game. Who is better? Who is better?
Are you talking skill-wise or just player in general? Because I think in skill-wise, there's no question Patrick Kane is on a completely other level than Jonathan Taves. However, Jonathan Taves is the best captain in the NHL, or so I thought at the beginning of the season. I've always liked what he's done with the Blackhawks, always stuck with them when they were the worst team in the NHL for years and years and years, and then he got the captaincy. He took that team as his own, and he led a bunch of young guys to the Stanley Cup Final and won the Stanley Cup. Mitch, what do you have to say?
Stanley Cup is a team award. One player doesn't win a Stanley Cup. Ask Mr. Alexander.
Yeah, I know one team does not win a Stanley Cup. I'm saying he led them. He led them to a Stanley Cup.
What about Patrick Kane winning the Conn Smythe the first time?
Patrick Kane winning the Conn Smythe that first time, that's for skill. I don't like what Patrick Kane does off the ice.
Okay, that's fine, but as the player, I don't like Patrick Kane outside the lines, all right? I like Patrick Kane inside the lines. Give the Penguins Patrick Kane, bro. We'll take him. Did you see that pass he made tonight?
I did.
Even as a Penguins fan, I was like, holy bananas, that was nice. The only other player on the ice that could have made that was Sid. The only other player on the ice. Taves couldn't have made that damn pass. And by the way, the only player that was actually I guess the only line that was actually effective for the Penguins was the first line.
Kind of, not really.
Well, they had I remember they had the Sheary opportunity. Crosby had some shots. They hit the crossbar. Russ scored. I mean,
it was okay. Rust was coming on after
no line was good, but the only effective line was Crosby's line. But Kane is better than Taves, bro. I'm done with this argument.
On the ice, yes, Kane is better than Taves. But personality-wise and captaincy-wise, Taves is better than Kane.
Okay, what stat? Okay, what stat tells me leadership? Can you tell me the stat?
Mitch, I really don't know. I don't know how I can pinpoint the stat of leadership. Maybe it would be plus minus. I don't know. I doubt that that's the one. But honestly, just look at what he's done. Look, compare Taves and Kane when they're not with each other and they're playing on different teams, aka all-star games, aka national teams.
Did you just say all-star games?
I did. That's your favorite
here,
thing about the NHL, isn't it, Mitch? The all-star game.
Please don't. Never bring that up again. I'm going to boot you straight out the video if you do
I
that.
know you'll boot me out of the video. This will be all edited out. The people seeing it live are the only people that will ever see this video on the bottom line.
Okay, I get the Olympic thing, but one plays for Canada and one plays for the United States.
Yes, both have
and
very
one
good
plays
rosters.
on the first line and one plays on the second line. You ever think about that?
Yes, and you know what? Taves plays on the second line, and he plays better than Kane, who plays on the first line.
Yeah, because Kane has to deal with freaking Drew Doughty and Duncan Keith. Come on, bro.
Yeah, but then again, the pressure is lifted off of Taves as well, so he does not have to be as much of a leader, but he's still one of the best leaders in Team Canada. When you see Kane has actually worn the C for America, and he's done terribly. Didn't he wear the C in this Olympic tournament that they just had, the World Cup of Hockey? And you know how America did? They could not win a stinking game. They literally only scored like 2 goals every single game and could not win a single game. Jonathan Taves, yes, he's on the second line. He wears the assistant captaincy, but that's technically a C.
Trent, does a player win a game or does a team?
Both.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Trent,
So,
finish this recap off, bro.
finishing this recap, of course, you know, as we kind of hinted on this could be the possibility of the Stanley Cup Final. Did it work out the way that we wanted to? Well, for most of us, no, including myself. For Mitch, absolutely not. He'll be having nightmares tonight. But regardless, neither one of these teams have anything to worry about. If this is the Stanley Cup Final for this year, it will be very exciting. A lot of these games will be much closer because some of those players with injuries will be playing through the injuries. It's the regular season still, so they need to rest up for the playoffs. The Stanley Cup Final is a completely other story. Each team, you know, they didn't really play as a full team, I would say. You know, they weren't giving it their all. But nevertheless, it was exciting. It was enjoyable for me. Mitch enjoyed the first 5 seconds, and that's it. But we'll be having more enjoyable recaps moving forward. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review and the recap of the Blackhawks versus the Penguins. If you guys have any games that you see coming up that you really want us to talk about, let us know, because we have kind of a vague idea of what we think would be a good game. But if you guys are really big fans of, let's say, the Florida Panthers, then we can do like a Florida Panthers game for you. We just did the Music Wizard special. Sadly, it got cut short, but that's because of my internet. So regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed. We have tons more hockey, tons more WrestleMania, and tons more football. Mitch is finding something hilarious, and I want him to share it right now.
I just saw this photo, and it says, Jonathan Taves leads the league in leadership out of 60. And then one guy tweeted back, leads the league out of 60. What the hell does that even mean?
I don't know what that would mean.
And then another one says, Crosby scores a goal. Blackhawks fans. But Taves, 3 rings. Leadership. All right, guys. That is all. I'm out. It's Mitch. It's Trent. Thank you guys for joining us. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. Leave your comments below about the Penguins and the Blackhawks, about how Crosby is overrated, about how Taves is overrated, whatever you want to talk about. And will either of these teams reach or win the Stanley Cup? Peace out.